Obviously, this morning, the latest TRREB Resale market report came out. There's a lot to go through. We're going to go through the major figures and numbers right now. But off the bat, let's go through probably the most key metrics, the most general metrics that we have here. For instance, total residential transactions year over year, comparing October 2024 to October 2023, we saw a 44% increase year over year in transaction and sales. So that's essentially to say that sales were significantly up. I think that's a very fair statement. We only had 4,611 sales in October of 2020. Now we stand at 6,658 sales. I'll address in a bit why this is the case in my professional opinion, but before we get into it, let's also take a look at, for example, here, moving forward to the average selling price, pretty much around where we were last year in October of 2023, year over year, only a 1.1% increase in average sold price. So essentially we went from $1,123,000 to now October of 2024, we were at $1,135,000. So a 1.1% increase. And on this channel, I often say when I go through these reports, essentially a 1% increase or decrease when we're talking about this average sold price across all property types, across all areas, to me indicates a pretty flush and even market, although in pure dollar amount, it's not that. We saw an increase. The other key metric that we cover off the bat is the total new listings category, right? Here we saw a total of 15,328 listings in October of 2024. Of course, this was up 4.3% from October of 2023, where there was only there was 14,700 new listings. And another key point here is we cannot confuse this with active inventory. This is new listings, what's coming fresh on market right now, right? So we'll also get into active inventory in a second. And then the last major, metric we always take a look at to start to get the ball rolling is property days on market. Property days on market, 30% increase, right? Going from an average of 33 days on market in October of 2023 now to an average of 43 days on market. Here, active inventory is better found in this actual report, which is for, as you guys can see, October of 2024. We see a total active inventory, if I can find it, of 24,000. So that means there was 24,481 listings for sale on market simultaneously, like in an active fashion. Whereas new listings came in at, as we just discussed, 15,000, right? So despite this 15,000 new listings, which was a 4.3% increase, and this active inventory of 24,000, which in itself was also a 25% increase. As you guys can see, 24,000 active inventory, 25% increase. Despite these figures, clearly sales went up to the tune of 44%. To me, this clearly indicates that the Bank of Canada interest rate cut that occurred in September and obviously in October has had an impact, at least to a small degree, on absorption. Absorption has definitely taken place, especially comparing to last year. Furthermore, if we were to just quickly take a look at, for example, now we have obviously all the home prices and sales by property type here, and we see if we go down the line, pretty much every single home type, right? And keep in mind, once again, this is for October of 2024, right? Every single property type saw an increase in sales, right? This is more to the point of the substantial 44% increase we saw market-wide. Now we can kind of see how this 44% increase market-wide played out when we break it down by property type. And when broken down by property type, just focusing on the sales here, we see, for example, there was a total of 3,139 detached homes sold, 838 in the 416, 2,309.05. Similarly, semi-detached, 612 semi-detached sold in October of 2024, 263 in 416, 349 in the 349 and the 905. And we go down the line, townhomes came in at 1,123. Condo apartments, right, really the main topic of this channel, came in at 1,722. increased on all fronts for all property types, 40% and above, with the exception of condos. But detached home sales were up 46%, semi-detached home sales were up 44%, townhouses were up 56%, and then condos were obviously in the sheer number of sales were up the least, but condos themselves were up 33%, which is higher than I would have assumed having not reviewed these numbers, right? What has performed the best, at least year over year, in terms of sheer number of sales are townhomes in the 905. Here we clearly see, perhaps I should zoom this in a bit more for you guys. Here we clearly see townhomes, right, in the 905, which came in at 899 sales. That was a 61% increase year over year, which is nothing to, sneeze at. That's quite impressive. Of course, that's just sales, right? Out of curiosity, the property type that was up the least, performed the worst, but really all these sales figures are up, right, was condo apartments at 32% increase in sales in the 416. So this 1,162 figure was only a 32% increase. And out of all these areas and property types, 416 condos were up the least, for lack of a better term, which is still a healthy sign, but of course, the one that's lagging the most at this point in time. Going to sold prices here, let's take a look at these sold prices. We see a bit of more of a mixed results here. We see a little bit more mixed results. For example, of course, when it comes to the property type that was up the most, see it was detached in the 416. So Toronto detached clearly at $1,778,000 as an average sold price for detached homes in Toronto in October of 2024. They performed the best, up 4.4%. The second best is semi-detached in the 416. So thus far, the image that we're getting, and townhomes were up 1.3% in the 416. Condos, to no one's surprise, were down 1% in the 416, right? So thus far, the image we're clearly getting is that detached performed the best, semi-detached performed the second best, townhomes performed the third best, and condos performed last in terms of year over year price appreciation. The only property type being down, that being condos at 1%. And this is something I think was pretty predictable. I think I mentioned this in other videos elsewhere, that I wouldn't be surprised if detached homes, in retrospect, are the property type that will perform the best in the city of Toronto. Keep in mind, detached homes in the 905 are down 0.1%, which is essentially nothing. You can think of that as even, right? That's literally, if one sale went $10,000 either way, that would be a different, figure. Like, that's such a small percentage point that there's really nothing to make of that, right? So you might be wondering, why is it the case that detached homes were up 4.4% at $1,778,000, while properties in the 905, so York region, Peel region, such and such and such, were down 0.1%? Because as the Bank of Canada started cutting interest rates, as supply started to increase, more so with condos, but of course with freehold properties as well, it's just a fact of the matter that this quality of supply, along with the affordability of homes in the 416, kind of supported more demand for 416 detached properties, as opposed to 905, which, if we take York region, for example, that's probably the most expensive area in the 905. But, your 905 also accounts for Peel region and Durham region. With lower interest rates, buyers much rather go towards a more affordable option for a detached property in Toronto, as opposed to a cheaper option in the 905, right? The location, the primacy of location, and the primacy of quality in terms of listings comes through when, kind of, for lack of a better word, the dam breaks, right? When the Bank of Canada starts to cut interest rates and there's a lot of offside or buyers waiting in the wings. Once those buyers jump in with lower interest rates, they much prefer to go for more quality, more location primacy. That's why, in my opinion, we see that October, detached homes were up 4.4% in the 416, but not up or down, really, to be fair, in the 905. Condos in the 905 performed the worst, right? Like condos in the 905 came in at $637,000. That's a drop of 4%. The biggest price decline in October when broken down by property type, broken down by area. And once again, that has to do with the fact that if a buyer is going to take on a condo in today's market where interest rates are higher, they're coming down obviously, but they're higher. Monthly costs, carrying costs in terms of maintenance, taxes, utilities, all that jazz, higher, right? They much rather buy location right now for condos, especially considering the fact that, 905 once again includes a lot of Peel region, a lot of Durham region. And really, to be honest with you, there's not a lot of inventory or buildings to get excited about in Peel and in Durham, despite the mediocre to inferior inventory that might exist in the 416. Once again, the primacy of location is coming through. I mean, this is not to say it's not as if 416 condos are blowing, condos in the 905 out of the water, right? It's, we're talking about a decline of 1%. And compared to a decline of 4%, right? And once again, on an average sold price basis, 905 condos came in at $637,000. 416 came at $721,000. So the 905 condos are still, on an average basis, far more affordable. Obviously, that changes when we break it down by municipality a bit further. Like, I would venture to say that markup condos probably still far more expensive. Well, not far more, but more expensive than, for example, on an average basis, downtown Toronto condos when we're comparing 1-beds or 1+1s, right? You'd be surprised. Like, Richmond Hill condos are, in a surprising way, performing better than some regions within downtown Toronto. Here we have the year-over-year summary. We see what we discussed, 44% increase in sales. All this we've discussed. Obviously also discussed the 25% increase in active inventory. Another interesting point of discussion here, in my opinion, is the 28% increase of listing days on market. And of course, I think we had it here earlier as well, the 30% increase of property days on market here as well, right? And there's really nothing surprising to say. I mean, right now, a lot of inventory is moving like molasses, especially inventory that hasn't been priced properly. In today's market, if you don't price your units properly, you are really assured that they're going to collect dust, right? Even as interest rates are coming down, proper pricing is more important than ever, right? On the selling side. And I've made mention of this several times, but the business I have conducted on the selling side in these last 2 months, September and October, it was a combination of luck and it was a combination of really functional, nice units. In these cases, both were downtown Toronto condo units, but as a matter of fact, we also priced it proper, right? And what I'm seeing on the ground is a lot of relists, terminations, and of course, listings on market collecting dust. Whether it's due to sellers being stubborn or a lack of demand, or in some cases, both. Well, it's a case-by-case basis. With regards to a lot of condos, I must have to say that on the lower price points, it could be stubbornness from the side of the sellers, because lower price point condos do actually have fair degree of demand. Obviously, the demand for lower price point condos are not through the roof by any means, but there is a fair degree of demand for today's market condition. There is a lot of stubborn sellers as well. They've already priced adjusted multiple times. The listing you're looking at is on market for 60 days. Little do you know, they were on market 60 days before that on a previous listing, and there just isn't much room for them to come down. When it comes to the higher price points for condos, what I'm seeing is it's not really due to any greed or any stubbornness from the part of the sellers. Is more so a lack of demand. Right now, the buyers out there for 2s and 2+1s are not that abundant. I think I made reference to this in my most recent videos. If you haven't seen that, guys, go check that out. When I broke down Toronto condo or downtown Toronto condo prices by number of bedrooms, right? Right now, there isn't that much demand, right? So that's a little bit more explanation in terms of why we're seeing these longer days on market, right? For houses, it's much of the same, but there's obviously different explanations as well, right? For a lot of homes, they're properly priced, they're in a great location, and for detached specifically in Toronto, they're actually going faster. So these longer days on market is mostly to do with condos, and if it's for freeholds that are outside of the city of Toronto, because city of Toronto, detached freeholds or semi-detached freeholds are still selling at a decent pace if they're priced well. But okay, guys, so we covered the TRREB Resale Market Report for October 2024. Once again, in new format here, doing a live stream. I'm going to obviously cut and edit this for a more produced video later, so that should be available to you guys. And as always, way too much to go through, but I'm going to try to do more of these live streams where I live stream these TRREB Resale Market Reports, or when I'm looking at Toronto condos that have dropped their price, or whatever it may be, in general Q&As. And we only got 2 questions for today, but we managed to go through a healthy portion of this market report. So with that, thank you very much for all tuning in, and hopefully this video was informative. As always, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you very much. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.